वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा।
Thank you for playing the shloka. It's good time to start. So now we are initiating with the plenary session of plenary session. So now here we go. Good business leaders create a vision, articulate the vision, and passionately owe the vision, and relentlessly drive it to the completion. A very good afternoon to all the dignitaries, practitioners, professionals, and participants from all across the Gujarat, India, and across the globe who have been able to join us on this special occasion. I am Aishvi Soni, and along with my co-host Mohit Arya, we welcoming you all to the plenary session on the theme of Achieving Sustainable Development Goals through Policy and Business Intervention, organized by BK School of Professional and Management Study, Gujarat University, India. Over to you, Mohit.
Today, we are very happy to introduce our plenary session speakers and moderator. We have with us Dr. Sushil Kumar Pant, Associate Professor, Faculty of Management, Tribhuvan University, Nepal. Professor Dr. Rajeshwari Narendran, Professor, Organizational Behavior and Human Resource, Mohanlal Sukhadia University, and Visiting Professor at IIM Udaipur, Harvard Business School Executive Education. We have with us Professor Nityesh Bhatt, Professor and Chairperson of Information Management Area, Institute of Management, Nirma University, Ahmedabad. And as moderator, we are joined by Dr. Neelam Panchal Ma'am, Associate Professor at BK School of Professional and Management Studies, Coordinator of the Department of Public Policy and Governance. Over to you, Ashvi. Ashvi, your mic is mute, please. Unmute.
Please pardon me. Now I request our moderator, Dr. Neelam Panchal ma'am, to welcome all the dignitaries and participants present here with us. We welcome you, ma'am. Dr. Neelam Panchal is an associate professor at BK School and in charge of the Department of Public Policy and Governance, Gujarat University. She is coordinating courses like MBA in Public Policy Management, MBA in Business Economics and Public Finance, MBA in Event Management, and PG Diploma in Public Finance and Economics, PG Diploma in Public Policy Management under the umbrella of BK School of Professional and Management Studies, Gujarat University. She is also the coordinator of courses of management academic programs of BK School like PG Diploma in Finance Management, PG Diploma in Training and Development, PG Diploma in Information and Technology Management, and PG Diploma in Material and Operation Management, running under the coordinator for various courses launched under the Institute of Defense Studies and Research, IDSR, at Gujarat University. She is also conducting the programs 10 PG Diploma programs, 5 certificate, and 4 IMBA, Business Economics and HR and Public Administration, Finance and Public Business Management. During the course of her career, she completed the Faculty of Development in Management from the prestigious Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, and Specialized Program and Management Teachers Program and FDB at IIM Calcutta, IIM Bangalore, IIM Indore, IIM Noida, and Gurgaon, to name a few. Dr. Panchal is the chairman of Indian Society for Training and Development. Dr. Neelam Panchal ma'am has also worked as a full-time faculty at Institute of Management, Nirma University. She has completed the teaching assignment with Management Development Institute, Murshidabad, Calcutta, Manipur University, Knowledge of Consortium of Gujarat, Narmada College, Bharuch, GNFC, UGC, HRDC, Hyderabad, Indus University, Bukhara University, Mata Vaishno Devi University, to name a few. Has conducted employee development, management development, faculty development, and women development programs for the executive and middle-level managers of the different organizations like Kohler India, GNFC, PI Industries, Classic Hotels, Jindal Industries, Babina Diagnosis, Asian Paint Limited, Cadillac, to name a few. She has published more than 120 research articles and more than 20 books. She has also developed courses material and cases for the post-graduation courses of MT and CRA, Government of India. She has developed 5 MOOC, massive open online courses, and more than 130 content on the modules on the various subject of the management, which is a part of Swayam Prabha DTH channel devoted to telecasting of high-quality educational programs. She has been a conveyor of the youth symposiums every year since 2015 at the international level in Gujarat University. Ma'am, we request you to give a welcome address and setting the tone of the session. Over to you, ma'am. Stage is all yours.
Thank you, Ashvi. Respected dignitaries present over here, Dr. Sushil Kumar Pant, Associate Professor, Faculty of Management, Tribhuvan University, Nepal. We welcome you, sir. Professor Rajeshwari Narendran, ma'am, Professor, Organization Behavior and HR from Mohanlal Sukhadia University, and visiting professor at different IIMs and having an executive education from Harvard Business School. We welcome you, ma'am. We have with us Professor Nitesh Bhatt, sir, Professor and Chairman of Information Management Area, Institute of Management, Nirma University. We welcome you, sir, on this August gathering. I welcome you all on behalf of BK School of Professional and Management Studies, which is running a Department of Public Policy and Governance. And you all are aware that we are organizing this youth symposium since 2016. And in series, it is the 7th International Youth Symposium. The idea behind the series the idea behind this is to make sure that the participants, the scholars, the youth, the academicians, and all of us together try to contribute something in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. We all know that United Nations 17 Sustainable Goals and government, different agencies, and all the practitioners, we all are directly or indirectly contributing. But the point is, to what extent we have achieved that. And presently, when we are looking into the COVID times, the situation has totally changed. There's a drastic changes that are happening. So how to achieve the sustainable development goals through the business and policy interventions? That is what the theme of this conference this time. And once again, on behalf of the Department of Public Policy and Governance, I would like to welcome you all and thank you all for being over here with us. I also welcome all the participants, all the practitioners, all the academicians, and all the people who have joined this program virtually on our GU phase and DPPG phase, which is online. Thank you. Over to you, Ashwi.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, for briefing us on the session and for the welcoming to the guest. Now we welcome our guest of honor, Dr. Sushil Kumar Pant, sir. Professor Sushil Kumar Pant, he has been teaching in Tribhuvan University, Nepal since 1990, and his area of teaching and research interest focuses on entrepreneurship, innovation, and strategic management, among others. He is also involved in some consulting services for the private and public sector institutes. Currently, he is also supervising PhD students for Indian and Malaysian universities. He has published many research articles and had a lot of experience working towards the Sustainable Development Goals. Over to you, sir. Once again, I heartily welcome you. Stage is all yours, sir. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Ashwi, and thank you, Dr. Neelam Panchal, for inviting me. Because, in a sense, I'm from a different country, but Dr. Neelam Panchal contacted me. I don't know, all of a sudden, in a sense, though I think we have a common friend, Jivan, who is working in Manipur University. I also, and that was the I became friend to Jivan when I was attending FTP in 2001 in Ahmedabad. I am Ahmedabad. So that was the contact, maybe common contact, that Dr. Neelam contacted me and provided this opportunity for me to talk a little bit on. In fact, I will be talking about what Nepal is doing in Sustainable Development Goals, or maybe some of the things. So thank you, all the dignitaries here, who trusted me to talk a little bit on what we are doing as a country. So this is an opportunity for me to talk with such kind of a people. And also it's a kind of a for little bit of nostalgia, because I was there in Gujarat for 9 months. That was in Ahmedabad, IMA. So that after that I could not visit, though I always think of visiting once again at least that place. But unfortunately, I am not been able to do so. Though I've traveled India in other places after some that also, but not. I don't know what happened. Okay, I've not been able to come to Ahmedabad. Maybe sometimes I will be able to do that. And of course, now I have a contact. I have so many people now. I know a lot of people now, more than, because all of those friends have been on dispersed to throughout the India. So I have, personally, I have no friends up to until now in Ahmedabad. Now I have lost so many people who I can call friends. So maybe I'll be now more than motivated to come there. So thank you for this opportunity. So let me talk before going into what we are doing in with regard to sustainable development goals. Let me briefly talk about the country, because you all know that Nepal is a neighboring country, but you may not know a lot of things about Nepal. So let me try to, in few minutes, briefly let me talk about what the country is overall. Yeah, so a little bit of it, but maybe, for example, Nepal as a place where from where Gorkha people come and work in different places. So okay, that is not a very good example of being Nepali. But Nepal also, maybe Nepal is a country of mountains or Himalayas, including Everest. You may know that, but there are so many other things that I want briefly to talk about. For example, it is also a place of Pashupatinath. I think you know that. Yeah, also about Lumbini, the birthplace of Buddha, also lies in Nepal. I think these things many of you know, but some more things that I think you don't know is, it is a country which was never colonized by anyone. It always remains independent. So we don't have Independence Day. We celebrate Democracy Day because we were ruled by dictators for several years. So we celebrate our Democracy Day, not an Independence Day. So that is a very interesting thing. And of course, the size of the country in comparison to India, it's a very small country. You have 1.3 billion people, but we have only 30 million people. So our recent population says even it is little less than 30 million people. So the population is nearly 30 million. And also, I think one more thing I want to tell you about, this country is not only known for Pashupatinath. There is one more connection with Swaminarayan, which is very popular guru in Gujarat. I know, because I had visited this Swaminarayan temple, Akshardham, in Gandhinagar when I was there. So Swaminarayan ji also has some sort of connection to one more place, another place which is called Muktinath. There is a story, I think, and I think as far as I know, this is a real story. Ki Swaminarayan came to Muktinath, which is in the northern part of this country, and made and meditated for some time, or did some tapasya for some time in that place called Muktinath. So that kind of connection is also there directly with Gujarat. And also so let me, this is just a little bit. And also, though I think this is in a sense, it's a small country in comparison to India, and also in China it lies in between too. But we have 126 different kind of languages and ethnic groups, almost similar languages and ethnic groups. So in a sense, it's a very diverse country. It's a small one, but it's a very diverse country. And we also have different regions. The geography is varied from only around 70 meters from sea level to Mount Everest, 8,848 meters. So it's a very diverse country, even geographically. Yeah. So this is a little bit about the country. Little more. The population, I have already told, it's nearly 30 million. Of course, our total GDP is very small, $35 billion only. It's not a very, so it's not a big incentive. And also per capita income or GDP is around $1,100 only. So in that sense, it's not a very, of course, up to now we were part of least developed countries, but recently the UN had declared Nepal would be graduating to developing country. The process has already begun. I think it takes 2-3 more years. So by 2024-25, we'll be moving into a category of developing country. So despite being a very small GDP and per capita GDP, we have been able to do so. That means graduate to the developing country due to two more indexes which we are doing well. That is economic vulnerability index and human capital index. We did well. We did not meet the per capita criteria among three criteria which were required us to graduate from LDC to developing country. We were able to meet 2 out of 3. That is, GDP per capita is smaller than required. It was $1,200 plus dollars was required. We are only at $1,100. But our economic vulnerability index and our human capital index are doing well. So for those reasons, UN had declared that Nepal can now graduate from LDC to developing countries. So that is with regard to a little bit on economy. Little more on economy. Of course, our poverty level was in 1990, because that was the time we also entered into a new era of democracy in this country. Before that, we were ruled by the king directly, and it was not a democratic system, though it was kingship, but it was a little more dictatorial kingship. But after 1990, when the world was opening up for liberalizing its economy, politics, society, everything, we also did the same kind of thing. We also changed the system from dictatorship to democratic system. So during last 30 years, we have reduced our poverty from 42 in 1990 to 18%. Yeah, so our poverty has come down substantially, but still the number is still there. One more thing we have done well is in income inequality. The Gini index, which is the measurement of income inequality around the world, which is accepted by economists, our Gini index is around 0.32, which is near to equality. Which, because if your Gini index is around 3.0, or rather 0.30, then the society is more or equal. We are almost there, though in a sense we are not a very developed country, or rather even not a developing country. We are just entering into that, but we have done well in especially reducing poverty in last 30 years, substantially poverty reduction, and also reduction in the inequality. So these two areas are, despite being in a small country, we've done well in those particular two areas. And before entering into sustainable development goals, let me go back a little bit to millennium development goals. When UN declared by from within 2000 to 2015, the world would be pursuing MDGs, Millennium Development Goals. Of course, we were part of that. And by the end of 2015, when Nepal was evaluated, and remember, Nepal was one of the least developed countries, isn't it? And also during that time, Nepal was also going through a conflict called Maoist insurgency. So despite the conflict and despite the problems of being a very small income country, we were able to achieve good progress in some of the Millennium Development Goals that were, for example, reduce substance. We were able to reduce maternal mortality, infant mortality, child mortality dramatically, and Nepal was awarded for that. Despite the problems, we were able to achieve those MDCs. Then again, access to education, enrollment only. Of course, dropout was there and it still is there, but the first access to the education was also achieved nicely by the country. And also our health and sanitation and literacy rate also were improved during that period of MDGs between 2000 to 2015. So these were some of the things that we were doing well before even SDGs started to be part of our lives. So These are some things. And now let me to, because the overall theme of this symposium is about sustainability. I'm not talking anything specific about sustainable development goals that as previous speakers were doing, but I'm giving some examples of what we are doing towards sustainable development in general. Of course, nothing specific one. Let me share some of the information about how Nepal is. For example, our electricity, 100% electricity comes from hydropower. That is completely sustainable. We don't use any kind of especially we don't use coal for our electricity generation. We use fossil fuel, that means uh, gas and fuel, for our transportation purposes, but for our heating purposes or electricity purposes, so this electricity is just coming from hydro only. So 100% sustainable source up to now. And we are also slowly moving towards electricity generation through solar, but that is a very infant stage. But one very interesting thing is that solar water heater is a very old story in this country. When my father was building my house 42 years ago, he had fitted one electricity, or rather one water heater, solar water heater, in our roof, so that the hot water would be there available in our bathroom during winter. So it is an old kind of a trend, so to work on sustainable or rather, especially this was not electricity, this was for heating purpose. That also only water heating purpose for taking baths and using in your kitchens. So we did that well, very long. Similarly, Nepal is also known for biogas, use of biogas. That is another sustainable source. This biogas comes from cow and all those cow and buffalo dung, and that is accumulated in a pit, and that pit processes, the natural process would be there. That's purely biomass kind of a process, and that pit is connected with a small pipe towards the kitchen, and the kitchen would be receiving gas for cooking purposes. And this is also very old practice in this country. We've been doing this for 30-40 years. So these are a couple of examples of what we are doing in sustainability, with regard to, especially with regard to electricity and cooking kind of things. And also, once, when, as I was telling few minutes ago, we changed our political system from dictatorship, king's dictatorship, to democratic system in 1990. At the end of 1990, or towards that point of time, our forest was dwindled towards 29% of the total area. Now we've improved it to 44%. And that was done. One of the most important approaches that the country had adopted to improve this from 29 to 44% is called community forestry. That means the forest was first, that was nationalized during that previous system. But when the political system changed and democratic system came to the country, those many, not all the forests, but many forests were transferred towards the community, so that they became the custodian of the forest. So just like in your India, the Chipko Andolan of Sundarlal Bahuguna kind of a thing. So the government decided to hand it over to the communities, because of that, from 29% to 44%. So that sustainability of forest is also there. So that has reduced. So in a sense, we were not producing much of the this pollution or CO2 emission, because our for example, our combination of economy. One more information on economy which I missed, but maybe this is good right now also. Our manufacturing, the GDP comes from 15% comes from manufacturing, 58% from the services, and 27% from the agriculture. So of course, in a sense, our manufacturing base is weak, but in the sustainability sense, that is good news in a sense, yeah, because we are not producing lots of CO2 emissions. Though the manufacturing base, another part is there, of course, that is creating lots of trade deficit with lots of countries, including India. Our import, 60% of total imports come from India. So we have a very huge trade gap between India and Nepal because of the low base of manufacturing. But despite that, because we're talking in the context of sustainability, that is what is happening. Yeah. And then, of course, I was Dr. Neelam told me to talk on particular topic, and I chose entrepreneurship and innovation. So let me briefly talk about what our people are doing in some of the in fact, I will be sharing some of the examples of what we are doing in entrepreneurship and innovation, and some of them are related to sustainability, but others are general. For example, Nepal is a country in South Asia where this instant noodle, I think you enjoy this Maggi noodle, isn't it? Even before Maggi, it is a multinational company, came to India. Rara was the first in South Asia, and that was from Nepal. Yeah, and of course, Maggi just came just almost there. So, in that sense, of course, the technology was brought from Japan by a Nepali entrepreneur. I still, I personally knew him. He's already now no more, but his name was Fanindra Shrestha. So he brought that idea. So the first instant noodle of South Asia was Rara. So that is, in a sense, so we were also innovative, though, again. And similarly, there are a couple of more examples. I was watching Shark Tank India the other day, and one of the I forgot the name of the participant, the rather the participant. She was talking about being a Momo queen or something like that, and Momo is becoming a popular food even in India, and in Nepal. We are Momo crazy country, just like you are cricket crazy country. We are Momo crazy country. So though it's not a Nepali food by origin, but now we are, sometimes I joke with my students, we should be claiming of the copyright for Momo for making it global, though it's originally a Tibetan food. Yeah, but the type of Momo you are eating, I don't know how many of you enjoy that. The type of Momo is a Nepali flavored Momo. So I also joke with you people that belongs to Nepal. So this and she was talking about frozen momo. Frozen momo is in Nepal it's an old concept, so we have already innovated that. It's a very old concept. So even so, because it's a in a sense it's not a very sustainable product, in a sense it's degradable, the quality can degrade very quickly. So some people started in Nepal the frozen momo, so that is there. And of course, couple of examples of digital innovation. We have we call it electronic payment system or wallet, which is named as e-seva. It is already 13 years old, and it is one of the oldest in South Asia. Yeah, that is e-seva is a payment gateway, or we can call it wallet. So one of the earlier mover of in South Asia. So similarly, we also have a digital platform called Tutel, which is motorcycle version of Uber. Yeah, it is created by Nepali young entrepreneurs, so digital entrepreneurs. Its name is Tutel, which is similar to Uber, but it hires only bike. Nowadays, it also hires taxis, but basically, you would be able to use Tutel to get access to a private biker, and then you can take that. Also, the government also doing one thing that is maybe a little bit digital is we have called the government has started an app called Nagarik app. Nagarik, yeah, I think that word is understandable, which you can have access to some government services by, for example, applying for your passport, applying for your citizenship certificate, and some tax information. Such kind of things can be accessed through this Nagarik app. This is government's little bit innovative of dimensions of the government. And also, of course, we are very popular. There are so many brands which I cannot say. Organic products are also becoming very popular. So young generation, young people are being innovative in bringing all those digital and also non-digital kind of things. For example, frozen momo is nothing related to digital, isn't it? Or organic products are also nothing related to digital. So young people are working towards different kind of innovation. And also, Binod Chaudhary, I think some of you might know, he is the only billionaire in Forbes list from Nepal. So he was the he. I think I know. I think many of you know. YY is a instant noodle. I think that is available in India also, because they have several places in India. They have started their manufacturing plants. I think that is available. So this is owned by Binod Chaudhary, the only billionaire in Fortune 500 list from Nepal. So he's also there. And there are a couple of people who are social entrepreneurs. I should not forget their names. One is Mahabir Pun, and another one is Sanduk Ruit. Mahabir Pun is known for his initiatives to bring digital services to very remote villages in mountains. And he started, and he was awarded Magsaysay Prize. That is called Nobel Prize of Asia. Another person, Dr. Sanduk Ruit, he's working in a hospital, eye hospital, and he is of course he is modified. Not it was not he was the innovator, but he's modified that intraocular lens which is used to after the cataract surgery. And it was available in global market in $100 around 20 years ago. He was able to reduce it to $10 only. It was just similar to, I think I have read this Arvind Eye Hospital case study in India. I think it was almost similar. So Nepal also, the Dr. Sandeep Ruit, this his hospital's name is Tilganga Eye Hospital. So, and he was also awarded Magsaysay Prize for his innovative way of reducing the cost of cataract, not surgery, but the intraocular lens for poor people. And he has served in many other places around Asia. So these are some of the things. Now let me talk a little bit on entrepreneurship. What is happening? For example, there are lots of BBA and MBA programs and other programs which are offering now entrepreneurship courses. So young people are studying BBA, MBA graduates are studying entrepreneurship. We are offering lots of courses, so they are of course they are learning how to become entrepreneurs. Of course, the government also is trying to encourage entrepreneurship through small. Government is trying to become kind of a venture capitalist, because private sector venture capitalism is very new in Nepal. Yeah, some people are slowly coming up, but this is a very new concept. So maybe we also need some sort of Shark Tank in Nepal too. But again, government is trying to work a little bit towards that. And also the private sector, there is one forum called Young Entrepreneurs Forum, where young people who are already entrepreneurs are working towards to mentor new entrepreneurs, so that they are called Young Entrepreneurs Forum. And also there are chamber of commerces, FNCCI and CNI, those of their chamber of commerce, national local chamber of commerce. They also have their own entrepreneurship activities. And of course, and the banks nowadays, slowly, though banks are not very eager, very keen to project financing, they still are in a more traditional way of finding some sort of mortgage and financing. But slowly they are also moving towards venture financing or project financing. These things are happening. Of course, with regard to some sustainable development goals, the country is now currently running its, or rather, it's implementing its 15th 5-year plan. Yeah, and all those sustainable development goals, 17 of such sustainable development goals, are part of our 15th national plan, which is created and as led there is a planning commission, where the prime minister is the chairman, and there is a vice chairman and the team. So they have incorporated all those SDGs in our 15th plan, which we are implementing. A couple of examples: for example, electric vehicles are slowly becoming popular, just like in India and other places. Of course, very slow, but it's slowly moving forward. Solar electricity is also in a slow growth mode, though we are doing well in hydroelectricity. Even private institutions are moving towards that. And one more thing, of course, pandemic was a problem for everyone, isn't it? Because I think I should be briefly talking about that. Despite being in a very really difficult situation, more or less, of course, Nepal was able to handle pandemic more or less. Of course, we did not face very critical problem last year when the second wave was there. in India, Nepal also faced same kind of second wave during April, March, April. We had little bit of strain in our hospital systems, but more or less we were able to manage it. And our inoculation, that means vaccination, is of course the target population of is around 20 million. That is adults only. We have covered already 71%. At least the single inoculation has been done for among 71% of the 20 million people that is targeted above 18 age, and 61% have already got two jabs. That means, and also we have started booster dose. So our health system is more or less sustaining this pandemic also. So these are some of the things that we have been able to do, and there are so many things. Of course, it's key. The private sector, academicians like us, and the government, everyone have to work together. That is, I think, that is understandable. So these are some of the themes or some of the things that we are doing, and of course, I've shared some of the examples which might be very interesting to you, because as I was telling you while I was starting, many of you don't know. You know the country, but maybe you don't know many things about us. So I try to share some of the examples. Hopefully, this was useful for you audience. So I'm ending my presentation. If you have any questions, I would be very glad to answer those questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a very enlightening speech by you. I'm sure everyone might have learned a lot from you. But I do have a question for you, sir. As we all know that Nepal and India has a very unique relationship of friendship and cooperation, right?
Yeah.
We share a border. We have an
Yeah.
open border, and that's the
Yeah.
living proof how deep our relationship is. So,
Yes.
what do you think, backing on that relationship? How can as you know, India is the youngest country in the world right now. How can the
Mhm.
young people of India and Nepal collaborate, coordinate, and seriously think and research deeply? Do you support the idea of making a think tank, of Indian and Nepal youth of Nepal, and publishing various reports on the geography and culture and all?
Yeah, I think Mohit, you're right, because see, yes, as I was telling you, we are close in many senses, but
Yes.
probably we are not close enough, especially academically. That's
Yes.
why I was sharing some of the information. I don't know, many of you are hearing about Nepal, this GDP, all those information that I was sharing, some of those and some of the examples. I think most of you are hearing for the first time. Again, you know the country of course we know. I traveled many places in India, so I know India mm, um, almost equal to you people. And we watch all those Hollywood or Bollywood movies. We are also Salman Khan fans, or all those Deepika Padukone fans. All of those things are very common. But when it comes to interacting, especially academically, we are not at all good at that. Maybe this is a kind of a starting point, though. Unfortunately, the initiative was not taken by me. It was Dr. Neelam who took this initiative to invite me. So that's why, and I'm really glad that maybe in future Gujarat University would be inviting me, not virtually only, maybe also, no problem, because this is my very I shared it. I'm very eager to come to Gujarat once again after 20. It's been already 22 years. So, and of course, not just to see you people. That is, of course, that would be very loving thing to do, but maybe working together, especially in academics. And also, once that happens, maybe more people, but interactions are there, but maybe much less interactions in academic field. I know that. Yeah, we go to India, or some Indian friends come to here for some presentations. So this kind of presentations we do it, but maybe it's very little. I think myself may be the first Nepali to talk in front of you all people. I don't know if that is the case. Yeah, and Gujarat University is one of the oldest universities in India, and also one of the most active universities. But you are seeing a Nepali person talking, despite your image of Gurkha soldiers, or maybe only all those chowkidars. I think you are seeing a doctor in front of you, a Nepali doctor, PhD doctor in front of you, maybe for the first time. Unfortunately, this is a very bad example for not being able to share our experiences academically. Hopefully, you would be or we would be able to work together. I don't know whether I've created a good impression among in front of you or not, or no. This is another go.
No,
This
sir.
is
So we are highly thankful, and it's our privilege that you are here with us, and we will definitely look for the long-term association. Thank you so much once again,
yeah.
and
If
over to
that
you,
happens,
Ashwin. Thank
yeah,
you.
if that happens, we'll
Thank
be
you very much,
really
sir.
glad.
Yes, sir. Over to you, Ashwi. Thank you once again, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Now we welcome and introduce our next speaker, Professor Dr. Rajeshwari Narendran ma'am. Professor Dr. Rajeshwari Narendran ma'am is PhD in Management and MBA, Andrew Toll Scholar, Harvard Business School, Boston, USA, and FDP from IIM Ahmedabad 2009. She has the distinction of being the first ever woman and youngest national president of Indian Society for Training and Development, New Delhi, India. Currently, she is professor at Human Resource and Organizational Behavior and former head and director MHRM ML Sukhadia University, Udaipur. She is visiting professor to IIM Udaipur, IIM Ahmedabad, and many universities across the globe. She has delivered invited lectures and training at Harvard Business School as well. She also has a rare attribute of being a psychodynamic analyst, helping Indian public sector giants, corporate like Reserve Bank of India, Bank of Baroda, NTPC, DGH, Ministry of Petroleum, Accenture, NCFE, etc., to hire and promote leadership pipeline. Her work for emancipation of rural and tribal women and Make a Difference initiative for rural and youth development have been greatly appreciated by the government of Rajasthan, India. She is a coach, evangelist, and a great motivational speaker, and her immense positive energy inspires hundreds of thousands of women around the globe as a role model. Dr. Rajeshwari ma'am is a popular trainer, HRD consultant, and so far trained record breaking 75,000 plus aspirants in India and abroad. She is one of the first women corporate trainers in India and Asia. She is currently the National Council member with Higher Education Council of Women International Chamber of Commerce and Industries, a state coordinator of All Ladies League from Asia. Recently, she has been nominated as board member of the Pravasi Legal Aid Cell for Gulf countries for supporting the working people of India abroad for the rehabilitation, rights, dignity, safety, compensations, empowerments, and mental moral support in distress. She is ISTD National Fellow, recipient of Vivekananda National Award for Excellence in HRD and Training 2009, International Case Research Fellowship 2011 from SGBED USA, Maharana Raj Singh Award and Ambassador of Goodwill, GSC California, International Best Paper Award on HRD Practices, Samarpan Award, Excellence in Empowering Women, and many more such prestigious awards. She has been conferred by Global Management Teachers Consortium registered with UN Global Compact and Niti Aayog with Outstanding Management Teacher Award 2021. It's a great honor to have you, ma'am, with us. The stage is all yours, please.
Thank you for that introduction, and thank you, Professor Neelam, for inviting me for this August gathering. And I'm so happy to share the stage with you as well as with Professor Nitesh Bhatt. Nitesh ji ko I know him for such a long period, and we have some very good memories of Udaipur. Creating certain training programs and having him there as a very young and dynamic fellow there, and so happy to have Professor Pant also from Nepal joining in. Professor Pant, please break your myth that we do not know about Nepal, and we don't we are not seeing you as first doctor. We have came across many such professors and enthusiasts from Nepal, so we don't underestimate any of the people, because we believe in Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, that is the entire world is a one family. So definitely don't break your heart on that. I assure you that we all respect each other to a bigger core of our heart, so don't worry about that. Coming back to the seventh International Youth Symposium, it's a regular feature which Professor Neelam is doing, and I'm so happy that addressing what she wants to address, the right kind of people. Because we say that when there is just a seed is starting to sprout, and how if you can nurture the seed in a way that it can grow in a beautiful plant and a fructifying tree later, then definitely we need to catch them young, nurture them well in the younger age. And that's what Professor Neelam is doing. I compliment her for this kind of birth. Coming back to what I have around 16 minutes of time now because of the overshooting of the time. So I'm a very big punctual person, so I will not speak a lot about it. However, I would definitely say that I'll try to be as brief as I can, I assure you. So talking about the because sustainable development goals have so many things, and government of India has done new education policy, which is partially it has started implemented in all across the India as an experiment and to learn from it. And so what are the highlights? I'm not going to go in much deeper sense, but definitely I would say that a quality education is what new education policy of the government of India is focusing at, to the youth specifically. Let me tell you why I want to say youth specifically, because there is a huge flexibility now that you have in your hand. Why there is a flexibility? Let me tell you that I because deal with so many youth, 6.5 lakh students are in touch with me due to my initiative Make a Difference. So whenever I talk or whenever I gather any data, many of the students have confessed that they have not found their passion now when they are already in a college. They don't know where their life is going to lead. So we are trying our hand in everything that comes across. Now, what happens, and unfortunately, in my age, I'm 52. So when I ask certain people that, have you found your passion? Still, some people say, oh dear, we lost it somewhere long back. So coming back to why this flexibility is offered, it is so important for us to know that the government of India knew this fact that people have different passions, their different levels of skill, knowledge, and a lot of different kind of aptitude. So having an inclusive education which offers you to drop out with dignity, with a certificate, like if I am in a BCom 3 years course, after first year, if I leave, I get a basic certificate that I have completed this much of education. If I complete second year, I'll get an advanced level of certification. But if I complete all the 3 years, then I'll get the bachelor's degree. So look at that. There were hundreds of dropouts because of multiple reasons. Particularly, I'm concerned about the girls who get either early married or because of family reasons or any XYZ reasons. The dropout rates of the girls is higher than the boys, let me tell you. So when it happens, then the girls at least have something to show for their employability to the next level. Okay, and this also gives certain added credits if you want to go to another course. So there is a inter course, this the course courses, different courses offered. So when you go to from one course to the other course, there are some transferability also of the credits which is offered by the new education policies, which is a wonderful thing again, which was not earlier allowed, and there is a uniform policy going to be there. Coming back to what are the other focal areas, the new education policy offers to have the industry academia collaboration. Now I would like to share some practical examples. Industry academia collaborations are one of those, the niche which MBA students or the engineering students would always flaunt, that we have done our internship at XYZ, Infosys, Tata's, and this thing and that thing and whatnot. L&T for engineering students, like if you have done a project or an internship at L&T Constructions or ICC Limited or something like that, you are considered to be in the cream of the cream. So definitely, that industry academia collaboration has been a kind of mandatory part of all these courses, the professional courses, the technical courses. However, how it can be now brought into the grassroots level organizations, or how it can spread across the faculties, is what the focus is. Now let me tell you, even I, like for years, like I've been teaching the commerce graduates and the management graduates and with HR specialization and whatnot. But I have never ever advocated that you go to big companies like Hindustan Zinc, which is there in Udaipur, or go to JK Tires, or you go to, RK Marbles, which is the largest marble company in the world, or something like that. I would say go to a local vendor. If you really want to learn, go to a local vendor, go to them, maybe a pheri wala or a thela wala or a sabji wala or a fruit wala. You just go to the person, talk to him or her, that how are they sourcing the product, what are the credits offered to them, like the monetary credit offered to them by the suppliers, how much money are they able to save at the end of the day, what are their marketing strategies, where do they sit and why do they sit in a particular area, and who are their regular customers and how they make their regular customers happy or delighted. So what kind of things do you have? Now I say that if you are a marketing student, then help them chalk out a better policy and make that you would help them double up their sales in 1 month's time by being there. Stand there, learn that, those tricks, and make that you are going to make it happen. And you won't believe the kind of startup ideas the students had. They had wonderful experience by talking to these people, first hand information, very deep dive into the real situations, and they learned a lot. And you won't believe, one day we called all those the pheriwalas and thelawalas and everybody to come to the college and talk about it. They said, this is the first time, madam, 5,000 rupees I was earning in a week, now I earn in a day. So this is something which has given an impetus to me to do my business well, and the students were recognized by them, that those who have helped them to increase their business potential. Now see that why are we always fancified or fantasized by the big companies or corporates? See, there is so much to learn, and this is exactly what new education policy wants you to go to the grassroots, make a change. Like in IIM Udaipur, when I am taking the courses in human resource and organizational behavior, I make sure from day one, 2011, I have made sure that all my HR students should go to the social immersion program, where they go and see, check, go to a village for 7 days. They stay there in whatever tough situation it is. Remember, they would go there, they would stay there, they would find out what are the local issues, challenges, resources, plus point, the minus points, what are the kind of people available, what are the skill sets available, and they would address at least one problem of the local area, come back and make sure that they address this local problem in a way that is taken care for the forever. It is not that it is a one time quick fix solution. So how they're applying their knowledge, it is beautiful experience, let me tell you. Please start something like that in all your institutions wherever you can. And social immersion programs do make like a huge impact on the people, and they have said that yes, we think that we are doing a right thing. That is what we need. Sensible, sensitive citizenship behavior, that is also one of those things which I always advocate more. And that is why I'm talking about all these things. Skill development, another focal area. There are almost 133 sector skill councils developed by the National Skill Development Council, and education and training, and so many other things, certification in retail, digital marketing, AI, whatnot. Everything is there in the bucket list. And if we go there are almost 3,000 plus skill sets identified for different segments of the people. And if we pick up even two, three, four, or five, each one of us, as an institution, we are sure to get success into that. And there is a huge dearth of skill set around the globe, and which we can cater to the need. Remember that our digital strength is one that is very good. Number two is the demographic advantage that we have, and third, like it is, if we use that, we used to export till now so many goods and other services, but we can now export the skill if we can build on that. So there's a huge market on that. Startup and lot many things, mudra yojanas and whatnot is there. But now, all those things have been incorporated in the national education policy. But now I'm coming to another paradigm which the government has thought about. They have created under the national education policy the uh, you know uh, gender inclusion fund. What is a gender inclusion fund? It is like found that people from the third gender do not find lot of courses to be studied upon, or the organizations are not very open, and even similarly the girl children do not have that right to education at many places even now. Entire globe, I'm not focusing on India or Rajasthan or Bihar or something like that, because I've seen it all through being myself a leader on the board on UN Women, and I have seen that across the globe certain places are affected similarly. It is not India or Nepal or Bangladesh, it's everywhere. Certain types of things are there. So this is something very commendable, which quality education accessibility provided by the government of India. So coming back to sustainable millennial development goals, but coming, one paradigm which pandemic has offered is an online education. We all are having digital fatigue. We all are having lots of problem around it, but still we are keeping up our morals high. But not forgetting to tell you that the number of cases in 1 month for the mental distress call have risen from 3 calls in a month to 92,000 calls in a month. The amount of mental distress, the kind of frustration, the kind of pandemic has made it. I myself, when the government of India wanted me to be the counselor for the Rajasthan, Maharashtra, Odisha, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and Gujarat governments, I was linking all the workers who were traveling from one place to the other place, and you won't believe, within 3 months I have attended to 66,732 calls by myself, working 23 hours a day on phone. My family supported me like anything. And finally, then when the bubble bursted of the pandemic for the first lockdown, the number of calls started reducing. But let us understand, have a voice. If you have any kind of support system, if you need the youth, because I'm addressing the International Youth Symposium, I want, if you have any kind of stresses, any kind of strains, any kind of issues or challenges which you feel that you can't share with your friends, family, parents, or your extended families, even to your teachers, believe me that there are very good organizations who are supporting in this cause, and there are free websites available. Don't get into the loop of the spiral of those big people, those who want to earn money through you or would leak your information. There are reliable sources where we can help you, support you, and believe me that uh, 90% of the cases are just because they just need to be listened, talked, guided, and counseled. Only 10% cases need an advanced counseling. And out of those 10% cases, only 1% need medication or psychiatric treatments. So, and it is just like a fever. It is just like when you have a throat pain, you take a betadine gargle or you take a saline water. Similarly, if you have a mental distress, if you have any kind of issue of frustration, depression, or any kind of other thing, please do reach out, because youth should not become vulnerable to certain things and later cause a wider problem for the entire globe. It should not happen. And that is why I'm advocating here, and I stop here seeing the watch that it is already 1:28. and I don't want to overshoot my time. And if you can have only a small brief question, I would like to finish at 1:30, Mohit.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, we have a question, a very concise one. Ma'am,
Yeah,
you have worked with thousands and thousands of students. You have also worked with educational institutions, national and abroad. And
yeah.
our education system is influenced by British education system because we were their colony, right? But it is perceived that the Western education is far, far ahead than our education. Why is that so? As a society, we have failed to update the system. Why is it the perception still after
Mohit,
75 years?
not at all, not at all. Look at the number of CEOs India has produced globe over. And also, the Indian education system is much well recorded, documented thousands of years ago, whether it was Takshila, whether it was Nalanda. We have had a beautiful history of international scholarship, even at the time of Ensang and everybody, those who visited India long, long back and have been our scholars of the knowledge, our ayurveda or our medical histories, our mathematics, our astrophysics, our astrology knowledge, everything is so well accepted world over. The thing is that there is a saying in Hindi, चिराग तले अंधेरा. हम ही लोगों ने उसकी importance नहीं मानी है. Rest everybody is accepting it. So let us start appreciating it. And the first step which I want to tell very briefly is, let us make it a point with Dr. Nityesh, Dr. Neelam, and everybody associated here, that while we conduct our PhD scholars, we say that ask them to first 20 references and citations to be from Indian scriptures. This one step would change the entire. How China could get that there is that reason, and I really advocate that out of 80 papers, please quote 20 papers and cite Indian work, and you would start seeing the improvement in our scale up. Thank you so much.
Fantastic, ma'am.
Yeah, so
Thank you so
wonderful.
much.
Please send
Very
your advice.
inspiring.
Ma'am, I finished in time.
When you start speaking, it's like you must go on and on and on. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for taking out the time and being part of our session. It was an honor to have you. We are grateful to for you for such a valuable speech. Now, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce our next speaker, Professor Nitesh Bhatt. Dr. Nitesh Bhatt is Professor and Chairperson of Information Management Area at Institute of Management, Nirma University, Ahmedabad. He holds MBA in
Mohitji, you already introduced. You
Sorry,
already
sir?
introduced me
No. No, sir.
earlier,
A
right?
bit more, sir.
Please
Yeah.
give a brief introduction if you want. Otherwise, it's already done. Let me start.
Okay,
Go
sir.
on,
Okay, sir.
Mohit.
Over to you.
Okay. So I have 25 minutes with me. I'm sharing my screen. Is my screen visible to all of you?
Not now, sir.
Not now.
Here it's showing that I'm sharing. Is my PPT visible?
Yeah, something
Yes,
is
sir.
popping up. Don't
Yes,
worry.
sir.
Yes,
Now
Yes,
it's
sir.
happening.
it's showing.
It's visible. Neelamji, can I go ahead?
Yes, sir. Please.
Okay. So, good afternoon, friends. It was good to connect with Professor Rajeshwari Narendran after many years. Of course, I second her thought that we had a lot of pleasant interaction and academic interactions in the past in Rajasthan also and in Gujarat. So good to connect, Rajeshwari ma'am. And it was wonderful to listen to Professor Sushil. I am thankful to Professor Neelam for providing me this opportunity once again to share my thoughts in this International Youth Summit. She asked me to talk about the policy intervention, and because world is grappling with the COVID-19, so what has been the Indian response in terms of policy? So that's what I'm going to talk about. I have done some research in this area, so I would like to just share some of my thoughts on that. So the theme which I selected is capacity building initiatives of Indian government to combat COVID-19. We have already listened to Professor Sushil, right, how Nepal has done some work in that area, but that is my core focus with regard to India. We all know about COVID-19, right, and how it created havoc across the globe in terms of social issues, in terms of economic aspects, political aspects, psychological distress, which Professor Rajeshwari was talking about. So we actually witnessed VUCA world, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity, which is seen even right now, and every country and every sector got affected with it significantly. It emerged in Wuhan, China. We all know that. Now there are a lot of figures and research which is available from World Bank to Bloomberg to IMF and various other agencies, and it tells that there was 4.5% dip in the economic growth in the first year itself. That was 2020. If you translate that into economic numbers, it came to 3 trillion US dollar, significant amount, right? Some other figures which you can see here is that as per one of the United Nations report, additional 108 million workers were pushed into poverty, and more than 200 million people are likely to be unemployed by year 2022. A big number, right? With regard to India, our national unemployment rate, right, surged to almost 12% in May 2021, almost 8 to 9 months back. It was almost 8% in April 2021. So what Professor Rajeshwari Narendran was talking about, look at additional 3 to 4% people who got unemployed, and that caused that psychological distress and all kind of economic turmoil. And so in urban area, it was almost 15%. Rural area, it was approximately 10%. Of course, because of various measures, now this number has come down to approximately 8%. This is the recent figure. But last year during the second wave, it reached to the peak, right? And you can see it here. Now, I talked about these economics figures, but look at the fatality which all of us have seen in our society, in our neighborhood, maybe in our family also. So COVID was brutal on human lives, and it resulted in more than 5.6 million fatalities. This is a recent figure. In India, the reported figure is almost 4 lakh plus. So what has been our response? We already had 3 waves. So in the first wave, there was nationwide lockdown, formation of task force for scientific science and economy, restriction on socialization. All of us have witnessed that. Emphasis on COVID-19 appropriate behavior, protocols, augmenting infrastructure. We sailed through the first wave through all the other measures like thermal screening at institutions and colleges and offices, airport screening, technological tool like Arogya Setu, right? But the second wave in the month of March, April, and May, where almost consistently almost 4 lakh daily cases were coming, and that's where the devastation started, right? Very briefly, I would like to touch on some of the events that happened and the responses. So by August 2021, according to World Health Organization, right, there were 110 organization in the clinical stage, right, who were developing the vaccines for COVID, and approximately 184 organization which were developing the vaccine at a preclinical stage. Current status, 10 vaccines are already approved globally, including our Covishield and Covaxin. So Indian medical regulator, right, approved 2 vaccines. I'm sure each one of us have been administered either Covishield or Covaxin. I'm sure you must have read 3 days back the promoters of Serum Institute of India and Bharat Biotech, Dr. Illa, both husband and wife, okay, they have been awarded with the highest civilian award, Padma Shri and others, right? Apart from these 2, Indian government approved other vaccines also. So total count is 8 with Sputnik, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, and DRDO's oral drug. Now, India's population is huge, approximately 1.38 billion. So even if we talk about 18 plus population, right, it's a huge country, right, compared to it's almost a continent. So to administer the jabs in 28 states, 8 union territories, 736 districts, and all 7,000 plus blocks, a program management initiative of a massive scale was undertaken. I'm not getting into the details, but there was training initiative, site planning, prioritization, capacity building, right? Public-private partnership, to name a few. Now, there were some enablers of vaccination. So there is a body called NEGVAC, that is National Expert Group on Vaccine Administration. So they started implementing this entire process in the line of your parliamentary elections or legislative elections. So that's where how injection will be administered, how the entry will be allowed, authentication of document, crowd management, so on and so forth, right? The same database was also used, and initially the priority population, okay, having the age of 60 years and above was identified. All of us have used this CoWIN portal and CoWIN app also, which is, okay, was instrumental in registration, tracking of beneficiary, maintaining the vaccine stock, and many other kind of aspect. And Arogya Setu was also utilized in addition. Madam is from the capacity building area from HR. So friends, at two level, okay, the capacity building was done. One at a strategic level, organization level. Second one was at a community level, society level. So training of staff, provision of resources like, let's say, medicines or beds or remdesivir injections, right? Okay, and oxygen, drugs, everything like that. Ambulances, designing policies, procedures, structure for monitoring and analysis. And at a community level, there was a community interaction, awareness, right? All such kind of aspects, which I'm going to cover in subsequent slides. Our vaccination program, because it was a huge exercise in terms of population, right? So it was done in a phased approach, right? Starting from January 2021, more than a year back. So initially a mock drill was conducted in 2 phases for Covishield and Covaxin. It was followed, right, with the vaccination of our healthcare workers and frontline workers, right, from prison or from government department, police. So 8 million people were inoculated in the first phase. After that, senior citizens were inoculated from March, and then people above 45 years with comorbidities with, let's say, asthma or heart attack or something, cardiac crisis and so. Now look at the numbers, right? A boy was asking, where are we compared to, let's say, Western world? We achieved 100 million mark, vaccine mark in just 85 days against 89 days in United States and 102 days in China. Okay, it's a humongous and it's a credible, significant achievement which a developing country like India has achieved during the pandemic. Subsequently, we allowed this vaccination, okay, for the people above 45 years of age and 18 years of age in the month of April and May 2021. Friends, I was talking about phase 1, and here is a second wave, okay, March to May 2021. Not only India, but entire world, like Professor Sushil was mentioning about Nepal. India was quivered by a sudden, unprecedented second wave, where every day, right, how many cases were coming? We all know, here is a number. And devastating infliction, it staggered everyone. Our medical infrastructure, right? And of course, it's not a case of India. We were listening about this thing everywhere. So it shattered medical infrastructure, ferocious casualties were found, right? We were seeing all these things that there is a deficit of medicines, oxygen supplies, fatalities, all that, right? Now, when this was observed, right, that's where the response came. So I'm just talking about few responses. Hundreds of times, right, in a day, we heard about the deficit of remdesivir. What was our response, right? So what government did, they allowed 8 organizations, right? Most of these are Indian companies, Cipla, Dr. Reddy's, Hetero, Jubilant Pharma, Zydus Cadila based in Ahmedabad, right? They were allowed to produce remdesivir. Government showed its intent to other pharma companies also who were having the necessary raw material and WHO permission, that they will get the license within 24 hours. Now look at this thing. Due to this one or two responses, in April 2021, we were producing 3.7 million vials, which was almost 3 times increased to 10.5 million vials in May 2021. Subsequently, right, import was streamlined, custom duties were waived, right? We stopped the exports of vials, which we were doing to, let's say, a lot of African countries and poor countries. There was a lot of misuse of remdesivir. Even those people who did not need remdesivir, those were also being administered. So doctors were roped in so that they could be educated. State government and central government, they started working towards curbing the hoarding, and the price also was rationalized. Now, in addition to these two vaccines, as I already said, Sputnik, Moderna, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, 8 total vaccines were allowed, although many of them actually did not come from US, and so despite the promise, right, they were given indemnity also. To augment the production, 3 public sector companies from India, Hefkin, Indian Immunological Limited, and Bharat Immunological and Biologicals Limited, they also were allowed, and they upscaled the production of Covaxin. Now look at the financial provision. In initial 5 to 6 months, Indian government made a provision for 27 million US dollar, right, to ramping up this production capacity for remdesivir, oxygen, and others. Total number of sites for inoculation, right, were increased with drive-through facility, on-site registration. Right now, this number is 83,000 in India, where approximately 2,000 facilities belong to private sector, right? And in 2021 June month, government extended free vaccines to all the citizens above 18 years of age. Now, second thing is about medical oxygen, right? We all saw the dearth of oxygen. So what was our response? So first, government barred the use of liquid oxygen for non-medical purpose for production. So whether it is a steel plant or production plant or so, oxygen supply was stopped for them, so that the same oxygen can be utilized for the medical purpose. We imported 50,000 metric ton of oxygen and started receiving global assistance for oxygen through, let's say, oxygen generator or industrial or individual concentrators and so. Our public sector corporate houses also, they also offered their help, and they shipped the oxygen to hospitals, right? Many of these industries which were having the nitrogen plant, those nitrogen plants were also used to produce medical oxygen, and whatever the support which was received by the government, that was counted as part of the corporate social responsibility also. Along with that, waiver of custom duty and health cess. Indian Railways, they ran Oxygen Express, and Honorable Supreme Court of India, right, that also intervened in terms of monitoring and facilitation through National Task Force. Facility was also a challenge. People was also a challenge in terms of trained medical professional. So there were makeshift hospitals. You must have seen those images in railways also, in community halls, right, in colleges, in yoga halls, right. Even the government extended its facility, right. So COVID-19 care center facility were created on a war footing. Our own defense body called DRDO, they built COVID-19 hospital in several states. Our defense forces, armed forces also, they mobilized their resources, including their retired doctors, to manage the crisis. Along with that, government roped in final year MBBS students, interns, nurses, and they were offered financial incentives and non-financial motivations also. You can see some of them. Some additional policy measures are also mentioned. For example, recent strain which is there. So because it mutates very fast, so to study the genome sequencing mutations, and so a consortium was created which collaborated with other similar agencies abroad. Okay, free ration. Madam was talking about those laborers, right, who were uprooted. So free ration facility was provided to 800 million. Look at this number, right? Probably this includes 40 to 50 European countries. 800 million economic backward and devastated people got free ration, which was originally allowed and extended till November 2021, but Few months back, it is extended till March 2022. This is a government welfare measure. And till November 2021, it was estimated to cost approximately 19.54 billion US dollar to Indian government. Right? Lot of policy measures you can see here. Then clinical trials of Covaxin was started for children in the age group of 12 to 18. And I'm sure all of us are aware that from January month of 2022, right, the children in the age group of 15 to 18, right, that their vaccination have already been started. Right? Recent number, I'm sure you must be reading a lot. In India, right, 164 crore people, 164 crore people, have received the dosage. Out of this, 93 crore people have received the first dose, and almost 70 crore people, that is 50% eligible population, have received both the dosage. And the booster dosage, which Professor Sushil was mentioning about, more than 1 crore people have received the booster dosage also. In this entire province, apart from the people and process issues, the technology was used very, very effectively. So as part of the supply chain, right? So this is electronic vaccine intelligence network, which was tracking the movement of the drugs, oxygens, vaccines, wastages, right? So that tampering is also reduced. Agency GS1 India was entrusted by Ministry of Commerce to manage this entire supply chain, right? I already discussed about Arogya Setu and use of CoWIN for that. And because registration and everything was happening through CoWIN, so later on, in addition to English, right, CoWIN was made available in many other regional languages, including Gujarati, Marathi, Tamil, and Bengali, and many others, right? And government also deployed tech-savvy Indian population, youngsters like you. I can see a lot of students, right? They also help the people in registration and downloading the certification and monitoring and those kind of things. Now, community level interventions, right? It's a very, very broad subject. I published 1 or 2 papers in this particular area, right? So this was created, capacity building measures by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So very, very detailed communication strategy was created, which was multi-layered, multilingual, as I was mentioning, for addressing different constituencies. Purpose was that in time, real-time information sharing, systematic information sharing on vaccine rollout, to reduce the vaccine-related hesitancy or cynicism, any kind of apprehension, and to escalate the uptake. And so you all must have seen, friends, community leaders, religious leaders, spiritual leaders, right, and social influencers were also leveraged in this particular process, in addition to various government departments and ministries, right? There was a national helpline which is still working for inquiries. Madam was mentioning about all these distressed calls, and so such kind of 24/7, right, helpline facilities were available, along with press conferences and media briefings at all level. Even prime ministers and various ministers, bureaucrats also address the public and society at large, right? So I can skip. We all have seen the caller tunes where the legendary Big B Amitabh Bachchan Sahab was also making an appeal along with the other people. Final conclusion, right? Few things I am just sharing. So first wave, right, we could sail through pretty easily because of consistent communication, proactive measures, infrastructural issues, so on and so forth. But the second wave was lethal for across the globe, and Indian government also caught it off guard. And of course, there was some lapses from our side also, right, which was not during COVID, but something which was prevailing from decades, right? One figure you can see here: in India, public sector constitute 20% of total healthcare expenditure, but in terms of GDP, it's merely 1%. So during COVID, government realized, society realized that it's a high time we should augment, right, spending, right, budgetary spend in healthcare also, right? So while private sector has to play a role, government has to play this role much more significantly in terms of beds or ICU beds, hospitals, right, oxygen, drugs, doctors, nurses, everything. Now, some gaps from which we saw: Kumbh Mela was also organized at the same point of time, where lakhs of people visited and had a holy bath, right? So while we had this belief that all our sins are taken care of, but that was not the right time. Okay, after the backlash, right, it was cancelled, right, or observed symbolically. We are a cricket buffs, as Professor Sushil was also mentioning. But when the COVID was growing, at that point of time, there was a cricket match going on in Ahmedabad itself, right, and other places too, where thousands of people were there without mask or social distancing. Similarly, last year there were some elections going on, and right, political rallies were taking place, and then victory parades were going on, and again, social distancing on those protocols were not maintained. Later on, after media's intervention, Supreme Court's intervention, such rallies were stopped, victory parades were also prohibited. Now, these are some of the suggestive measures, right? We don't have much time, but apart from the political leaders and bureaucrats, right, the communication exercise should be democratized with more of healthcare professionals, scientists, right, epidemiologists, inter-country collaboration at the global level, and high time that countries learn from each other, right, the best practices in terms of communication intervention, vaccination drive, collaboration issues, right. Wealthier nations, they are also at fault in some way. They did not reflected the required empathy for developing countries and poor countries when actually it was highly desired, right. In fact, the prices were escalated, right, and we had to import, and we did not have any option, right. So what I'm saying is that world leaders need not only preach, but they must practice the compassionate actions, right, very, very important. And the society also need to be educated, and very important effort when third wave is going on right now, and we still see in our roads that many people are not having mask, or even if there is a mask, it is not weared in a proper fashion, right? N95 and other things. So commensurate efforts and compliance is required from public. So this is a summary of what I presented. Indian government efforts in terms of communication, IT, vaccine, oxygen, right? So a lot more things were done, but much more is still is expected, right, at every level, from government, from citizens, from industry, and at a global level. So thank you very much. Just like Professor Rajeshwari Narendran, I was given 25 minutes, and I think I completed that in 25 minutes. Thank you very much, and I'm ready to take one or two questions.
Yes, sir. We do have one question. Sir, nobody can deny the commendable work done by the government in the field of vaccine inoculation, and they tried their best at capacity building, right? But the problem was, why can't we have an habit of waking up when something big hits us, right? Why did it take coronavirus, such a big pandemic, for us to augment the budget on healthcare systems? We could have done it proactively. We could have made healthcare system more robust before. So why do you think this is?
This is a very, very important and pertinent question you are asking, Mohit. But the issue is a developing country has a lot of priorities, right? Agriculture is also a focus. Youth employment is also a focus. Infrastructure is also a focus. Myself and Neelam madam, Rajeshwari ma'am, and we are from academia. Okay, augmenting the literacy level is also focus. Telecom infrastructure is also focus. So everything has to coexist. Okay, IT is also needs a boost. You require Wi-Fi and bandwidth also, right? So over a period of time, priorities evolve. But of course, it was high time we realized it. Okay, and but look at the other aspect. We are a developing country. But what happened during the first wave and second wave? I'm sure all of you must have seen the figures, similar figures from Italy and Germany and France and United States of America and Britain.
Yes. Yes.
It was a crisis which was unprecedented crisis, and it's a global crisis, right? So better late than never before. Collectively, government has already augmented its budgetary spending in the last budget, and I think next 3-4 days we are going to see the next budget. You are going to see the increase, right? So government has to balance its priority. But now that we realized, right, and everywhere we saw these fatalities and injuries and all these kind of aspects, psychological and everything. So now government is waking up. But it is not just an infrastructural issue. It's about habit. And that's where, apart from government, everyone has to play a role. You and me also need to play a role. Unnecessarily, we should not move out. Too much of gathering should not be there. You see, Neelamji has been organizing this conference every year, right, in Gujarat University, where hundreds or thousands of people used to come. Now this is online. This is a proactive measure, right? In weddings, if government says that only 50 people are allowed, why should we have 200 people? Right? Why we should go for unnecessary shopping? Or even if, let's say, we are forced to do that, we need to wear the mask, social distancing. So it will be a combination of infrastructure, policy, procedure, and people. So unless all the three things, people, process, technology, right, we will not be able to sail through, whether it is India or across the globe.
Absolutely right, sir.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's very correctly said, sir. It starts with us, I think.
Yeah, we should take the initiative
Self-management.
ourselves.
Self-management, yeah.
Yeah, we are very grateful and indebted for the time and efforts you took, sir, to share your thoughts, findings, and experience with us. Now, I request our moderator, Dr. Neelam Panchal, ma'am, for her concluding remarks on the session. Over to you, ma'am.
So it was really wonderful to listen all the three panelists and the plenary speakers. Dr. Sushil Pant, Professor Rajeshwari, Professor Nitesh Bhatt, all stalwarts contributed a great extent when ma'am was talking about especially the psychology part and importantly, the challenge that is there today that we are looking around. And that's very important part actually she has focused. And I'm very sure that if the students who have joined here virtually and if they have listened it properly, you should try to be talkative. You should try to connect with the someone to whom who is close to you, and if not closer to the people like us. But then ultimately, yes, ma'am has rightly pointed that youth is the power of the nation. And when the India is having more than 65% population, which is a youth, and if we don't talk, if we don't walk, and what would happen to build up of the nation. So thank you so much, Professor Rajeshwari, for giving that thought process. Professor Nitesh Bhatt, so wonderful as usual. You have spent a lot of time and you are with us, and I can see your session is about to start next session, so you are in hurry. Thank you so much for your wonderful initiative and very remarkable suggestions. And that too, when you say people, it start with us, it start with me basically, right? So why not me? Why should not start with, and then talking about the government, then talking about the policy makers or to the others. Dr. Sushil Pant, thank you so much for connecting us from Nepal. Let me tell you that since a long time, since beginning, that is 2001, we are making this. First year it was national summit, but then after it was all international, and we have a lot of participations from Nepal itself in this long 6 years. And there are so many Nepalis who are knowing that there is something called a International Youth Symposium is happening. So there's so many people who are connecting. Maybe we are connecting for the first time, but yes, definitely we will try to have a long-term association. Thank you so much, everyone. The students, Ashvi, Aditya, all the faculty members, Mohit, and all the group members, staff members of the BK for joining the session, and all those who are live virtually looking into the session and listening to us. Thank you so much once again, and have a wonderful day. All the participants, take a note that the next is the track session. So sharp 2:30, right now there'll be lunch break, sharp 2:30. We will get associated on the link that is provided in the text. There'll be 5 different tracks which will run parallelly. So get started, get ready with your presentations, and go to the tracks. Thank you so much once again. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sushilji. We can have one peek of this team, I think.
Yes, ma'am. I'm taking it.
You can
Please,
stop.
please smile, Kare. Smile. All right, done. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You can leave the studio and join in the track.
Okay, ma'am.